All right, y'all. All right. Good evening, everyone. As you're coming in, please say hey, speak, all of the things. Let me know where you're tuning in from. If you're a replay viewer, which that will not be for long because this live will not stay up, y'all. Um, okay. All right. So I'm just letting y'all know this live is not going to stay up. So y'all better hope y'all caught it live. Just give me a second. We're going live. We're making sure that we're live on all the platforms, okay, y'all? Making sure that all is well. You can start recording, Erica, for a second. Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Um, we're gonna just jump right into it. Tonight is not about planning a retreat. It's about architecting one, okay? Um, it's most leaders approach retreats as events, but architects approach retreats as assets. And if you stay with me tonight, you're going to see why audience size is not the key to success, structure is. By the end of this masterclass, you will understand why most retreats underperform, the four pillars behind profitable retreats, and how to design your retreat as a revenue generating ecosystem. Okay. This is not about hype. This is about structure. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so but before we get into the framework tonight, I want to understand who's in the room because depending on where you are in your business, different parts of this training are going to land differently. Okay, so let me ask you a few quick questions. Respond in the chat as we go. Okay, y'all over here on social media. All right. Have you hosted a retreat before? Yes or no? Type in the chat yes or no if you've hosted a retreat or not. Do you plan to host one in the next 12 months? If yes, type 12 months. All right. Have you ever underpriced something, a program, a service, a workshop, an event, and then later realized it was too low? If yes, type underpriced. And the last question, do you currently have back-end ascension built in? Meaning after someone attends your experience, is there's a next clear step, an offer or a continuation? Type yes or not yet. The reason I'm asking is simple. Most retreats don't struggle because the vision isn't strong. They struggle because the structure isn't built. And before we even talk structure, we have to address the foundation underneath it. Identity, money, and how you see what's possible for you. That's where we're going next. Now, before I teach you structure, I need to address something deeper. Because if you think if you think it is impossible for you, if you think luxury is for other people and not yourself, if you think you're not ready, then no framework is going to fix that. Retreat strategy is practical, but retreat execution is psychological. And if your identity hasn't caught up to the level you want to operate at, you will sabotage your pricing. Okay. You will shrink your vision, you will undercharge to feel safe, and you will call it being realistic. Okay. Your retreat will never outgrow how you see yourself. Okay? Let that sink in for a moment. Your retreat will never outgrow how you see yourself. If you see yourself as just starting, not ready, too small, just building, or still building, you will price just like that. Okay? You will market just like that, and you will build just like that. Luxury is not about ego, okay? It's about ownership. Ownership of your value, ownership of your expertise, ownership of your positioning. If you don't see yourself as an architect, you will behave as a hobby host, okay? I don't know, but I can't see y'all comments on social media, but that is all fair. Um, it's all good, all right? But let's talk money. Most leaders price emotionally. They ask, what would people pay? What feels comfortable? What won't scare anyone? Architects ask, what does this cost to produce? What profit is required? And what is the transformation worth? Money is not emotional, it is structural. If you feel guilty charging premium pricing, you will unconsciously underdeliver or overwork to compensate. And that is not sustainable. Okay. Premium positioning requires internal permission. If you don't believe you're worth it, your audience won't either. Okay. Now, there's a difference between hosting and architecting. A host says, I hope this fills up. An architect says, this is modeled to fill. A host says, I'll see what happens. And an architect says, this is designed to convert. A host reacts. An architect structures. Tonight is an invitation to shift identity. Okay. In the chat, type host or architect. I'm just saying about what y'all talking about over here on social media. All right. Good. Thank you for your comments. Because architects build differently. Was becoming was the host becoming an architect? I like that. Underpriced. Okay. I like it. I like it. I like it. Now, let me say something clearly. If you believe that you're too small, you don't have enough followers, and that you've never done this before and luxury is out of your reach, you're not disqualified. You're just unstructured, okay? And structure is fixable. But if you are unwilling to expand your thinking, if you're unwilling to price for profit, if you're unwilling to operate at a higher standard, then this framework is going to frustrate you, okay? It's going to frustrate you. Okay. Because this is not for dabblers, it's for builders. Any builders in the room? Any builders in the room? Now, one of the biggest misconceptions leaders have about retreats is that success is tied to audience size. They believe that in order to host a profitable retreat, you need thousands of followers, a massive platform, or a huge email list. But that assumption is actually what keeps many leaders from ever hosting one, because they're waiting until the audience is big enough. But in reality, profitability in retreats has very little to do with audience size, but it has everything to do with structure. A retreat with 100 attendees can still lose money if the pricing is wrong. Okay? The costs aren't modeled properly, and there's no revenue strategy behind it. And on the other hand, a retreat with 20 or 25 highly aligned attendees can generate significant revenue when it's designed intentionally. That's because profitable retreats are not built around volume, they're built around architecture. When you start thinking like an architect instead of an event host, your focus shifts. Okay. So then you stop asking, how many people can I get in the room? And you start asking, how is this experience designed to generate value, revenue, and long-term relationships? Structure is what determines sustainability. Revenue modeling, back end ascension, automation, those are all the things that turn a retreat from a one-time experience into a business asset. And this shift is exactly what the 100K retreat framework is designed to help you understand. This is the shift I want you to take with you tonight. Size does not equal profit. Okay? Size does not equal profit. For a long time in the online space, we've been conditioned to believe that success is tied to a scale. More followers, more attendees, more people in the room. But retreats operate differently. Retreats thrive on depth, not volume. A retreat is not a conference, okay? It's not designed to pack as many people into a room as possible. It's designed to create a high level environment where transformation can happen. And that's why smaller retreats can often produce stronger outcomes, okay? First, quality over quantity, okay? A smaller, more aligned group creates a very different experience. When everyone in the room is serious, invested, and aligned with the purpose of the retreat, the conversations go deeper. The breakthroughs go deeper. My coach, we were doing mastermind. She was doing our meetups. We would do like 4 meetups a year. This is a couple of years ago. Now we've shifted into something greater. But right, right in that moment on day one, she would say, when you guys go back to your hotels tonight, when you go back home tonight, you're going to dream, right? She's like, so take it all in, because it's anytime you attend anything, it's an information overload. And so when you get into that quiet space where you can actually think about what's going on and all the things, that's when your breakthrough happens. That's when the visions come, right? That's when the clarity comes. That's when everything that you've learned in that day makes sense. And I say that because the next day, people will come in and they have written their dreams down and all the things. And it just was a true testament that in the intimate times, right, that's when the breakthroughs happen. Also, the value of the experience increases when people are able to experience a breakthrough, right? Second, intimate connections. One of the most powerful aspects of retreats is proximity. You got to be in the room. You got to be in the room. People don't just attend the sessions, right? They have dinner together, they have conversations between sessions, they ask questions they may never ask in a larger environment. Those intimate interactions are what create the real transformation. And finally, unique experiences. When your group is smaller, you can design experiences that would be impossible with larger crowds. Trust me, I have planned conferences and I have planned retreats. I can tell you right now that planning a conference for 100 people is so much more, it's so much more different than if you plan a retreat for 100 people. We're talking about luxury, y'all. We're not talking about just throwing something together and being like, oh, okay, and only having to handle general aspects of it. And I'm not shading conferences because I still do conferences, but we are focusing on retreats, right? And with that, that level of personalization, that level of intimacy, that level of one-on-one dealings that you have in retreat settings, you absolutely do not want to overwhelm yourself with having 100 people at a retreat. There's only one of you. Okay. Do the ratio, do the math. All right. So you'll have private venues, curated dinners, exclusive environments, high touch moments that make the retreat unforgettable. I'll tell you all something, and excuse me, we'll talk about it later on as well. But you know what? I'll wait until we talk about the curating of the event, right? So instead of thinking about how many people you can fit into a room, start thinking about how to design an experience so valuable that people are willing to invest to be a part of it. That's what it is, right? Because that's where luxury positioning begins. And when you combine that positioning with the right structure, that's when retreats become extremely powerful business assets. We're using some different terminologies tonight. We're talking about ecosystems, we're talking about architecture, we're talking about assets. And I know that may not sound like something when you're talking about retreats or you're talking about planning of anything, that those terms may not um, be terms that you normally use, but we're about to elevate our terminology so we can elevate our thinking, so we can elevate our execution. Okay. Now, before we go deeper into the framework, I want to briefly introduce myself. I know I've been talking for a minute, but listen, I want to introduce myself for those of you who may be new to my work. Okay. My name is Lencia L. Marshall, and I am known as the Luxury Retreat Architect. What I specialize in is helping leaders move beyond simply hosting events and instead designing retreats as strategic business assets. Okay. My background is actually a combination of several different disciplines that all intersect in this space, right? So this is my season. This is my season because now everything is coming together in one nucleus, and this is who I am. I will currently in May hold a master's degree in digital marketing and automation, which means I approach business with a strong focus on system structure and scalability. I also have a federal HR and systems strategy background where much of my work centered around like organizational structure, workforce strategy, and operational systems. Most importantly, it is recruitment and placement, right? Dealing one on one with people, and I think that's what makes me so strong in the personalization and making retreats luxury. Being able to hear what someone has to say, and even when they're upset, being able to hear that and being able to translate what they really need and what will make that shift and what will make them smile, right? And what people actually want, providing a great customer experience. Like that's all what HR is really about, creating a great customer experience. And I've mastered that. So I think that's why in this space of planning retreats, like that's just, it comes natural to me. So all of those experiences shape how I think about business. I'm just naturally wired to look at infrastructure, not just what something looks like on the surface, but how it's built underneath. Over the years, I've hosted both local and international retreat experiences. And through that process, I started noticing something interesting. Many leaders were hosting beautiful retreats, but they were not profitable. The experience was incredible. The transformation was real, but the structure behind it was missing. And pricing was often based on what felt comfortable. Revenue wasn't modeled intentionally, and there was rarely a back end strategy to extend the impact beyond the retreat itself. That observation is what led me to develop what I now call the luxury retreat architect approach, right? Instead of thinking about retreats as isolated events, I teach leaders how to design them as a part of a larger ecosystem. I told you we're doing something different with vocabulary tonight, right? Because I think sometimes it's sort of kind of like I forgot what they call it. If you see the same color of a flyer, then the next time it comes in your timeline, you'll be able to easily identify and be like, oh, I already seen that and scroll past it. And I think that's what happens with vocabulary. If we use the same type of vocabulary, we just, let it go in one ear and out the other. But I think when we start to change up our vocabulary and our language around how it is that we do business and what it is that we're calling these things in business, that our brain stops and has to process it. Okay. So yeah, I teach leaders how to design retreats as a part of a larger ecosystem. That's where the retreat becomes a powerful experience for attendees, but also a strategic growth engine for the leader's business. Okay. I see some comments coming through. I see y'all. Thank y'all. And that's exactly what we're going to walk through tonight. I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm excited. Now, before we go deeper into the framework, I want to be very clear about who this training is for, because not every business model needs retreats, and not every leader is in the right season to host one. I want to be very clear when I say this, okay? Not every leader is in the right season to host a retreat. It's not saying that it's not, going to happen, but maybe it's not the right season. This training is specifically designed for coaches, speakers, leaders, authors, entrepreneurs, etc., who are ready to scale their impact and their authority, right? People who already have a message, people who already have expertise, people who already have something valuable to teach or guide others through. Retreats works best for leaders who are building around transformation, coaches who help people shift their mindset, their strategy, or their life direction, speakers who want to create deeper environments beyond the stage, leaders who want to gather people into meaningful, high level experiences, and especially visionaries who understand that scaling is not just about reaching more people online. Okay. Sometimes scaling happens through depth, through proximity, through powerful environments where real breakthroughs happen. So if you're someone who feels called to create high level experiences, if you want to gather people in environments that accelerate transformation, and if you're ready to structure those experiences in a way that actually supports your business, then you're exactly who this framework was designed for. Okay. I designed it specifically with you in mind. Now, most retreats don't struggle because the leader isn't gifted. They struggle because there's no structure behind the vision. There's about 3 failures that we're going to talk about. You see them on the screen, but let's dig in. Failure number 1 is no revenue architecture. People price emotionally. They pick a number that feels right, no profit modeling, no back end plan. So even if the room fills, the margins are thin and the stress is high. Think about them. I want you to keep margins in your, matter of fact, write margins now. Write it in the chat, write it somewhere, because we're going to talk about those profit margins later on. Failure number 2 is no ecosystem thinking. The retreat ends, and so does the revenue. There's no ascension pathway, no next step, no intentional continuation. It's an event, not an asset. Remember, we are creating retreats as assets, not events. And failure number 3 is no automation. So now you have to do manual follow up, scattered emails. You don't have a nurtured system, no leverage, and everything depends on you, the host, remembering to send, follow up, and check in. That's not scalable, baby. That's exhausting. Ask me how I know. Anyway, retreats don't fail because the idea was bad. They fail because the architecture was missing. Okay. When you build revenue modeling, ecosystem design, and automation into the foundation, the retreat stops being a one time experience and becomes a strategic growth engine. Okay. I know you all probably have seen a lot of ads that come up and they're talking about now it's big talking about selling one to many. Retreats is one to many. Okay. You don't have to have 2,000 people in the room for it to be considered many. All right. Now, after studying retreats for years, both my own and those hosted by other leaders, I started noticing a very clear pattern, right? The retreats that struggled financially were usually missing structure. The ones that succeeded consistently were not random, okay? They were designed intentionally. That observation is what led me to develop what I now call the 100K retreat framework. This framework breaks down the 4 structural pillars that determine whether a retreat simply becomes an event or whether it becomes a revenue generating ecosystem. The framework is built around 4 key elements. Okay. A, attraction. This is about demand. How you attract the right people into the retreat experience. Not just filling seats, but attracting aligned participants who value the transformation you offer. R, revenue architecture. This is where most leaders make their biggest mistakes. They price based on comfort instead of structure. Revenue architecture is about modeling the numbers correctly, understanding your costs, your pricing strategy, and the revenue ecosystem that surrounds the retreat. C, curation. Curation is the intentional design of the experience. Intentional design, y'all. I didn't say just throwing something. It is intentional. Okay. You are intentionally designing the experience. From the moment attendees arrive to the environment you create, to the sessions, conversations, and moments that shape the transformation. Every element of the retreat experience should be designed with purpose. And I want to stop right there and I want to put a pin because I told y'all when we got the curation, I was going to tell you about something. In 2020, we hosted 35 ladies in the middle of COVID. Yeah, I know we crazy. We hosted 35 ladies on an all expense paid retreat. And with curating these moments, right? And being intentional about it, they had to apply. All of these people applied, and we had to select the 35 women, right? The way that we made notifications, I literally hand created every single invite. They got a personal invite, every single person. And when I say hand created, because sometimes I pull my Cricut out, y'all, and I think I'm really creative. And at that time, I really was. I mean, it was COVID. I had time on my hands. Time on my hands. See, anyway, yeah. Just in case y'all don't know, yeah, I might bust out singing. I might, who knows? Okay, y'all, this is good stuff, right? It's good stuff, but I'm still me in the middle of all of this. Anyway, so the card itself, I had used my Cricut. I went to Hobby Lobby and Michael's and all the places and got the good paper. Okay. I made them, cut them out, and all the things. I had pearls on them and everything. Y'all, I went all out on these invites. Even the actual card itself that or the envelope that the card itself went in, I made it by hand, every last one of them. And so I even did like the wax seal on the envelope. And so when they opened it, all of these we had wound up butterflies, and I'm saying we, and I really mean me, wound up butterflies and put them inside these envelopes so that when they opened it, all these butterflies flew out. Do y'all know we're in 2026 and people are still talking about that? They are still talking about the excitement and how special they felt opening just that invite. The notification that's saying, hey, you've been chosen. We're going to see you in December at the retreat. And the thing is that that one moment with that person was actually curating another retreat. And let me tell you how. We asked them before they opened it, we had another letter with it, and we said, hey, when you open this, record yourself, post it on social media, tag us in the post. So what was happening is those who were not selected and even those who did not apply, when they saw how they were notified, they're like, wait a minute, this is something different. I ain't never seen nothing like this before. I gotta be at the next one. And I want to tell you that behind that retreat, when we got ready to do the retreat for 2021, I believe it was 2021. We sold out in 8 hours. 8 hours. We were completely sold out of that retreat in 8 hours because we had curated such a great experience beforehand, right? And when we did it in the middle of COVID, imagine everything that was going on during COVID, right? And here it is, you're seeing this light. You're seeing people light up and having a great time. Sold out in no time. We didn't even do it on purpose. We weren't even really trying to curate an experience for the next retreat, but that's what we did. And the people expected for the next year, the next year, the next year, they expected all of the things. They expected that same luxury experience time and time again. They expect that from Grinding Grace experience. Okay. All right. Let's go back to this PowerPoint. And finally, H. H is high level systems. This is the infrastructure behind the retreat. You know, the registration systems, the payment systems, automation, communication, follow up. Systems ensure the retreat runs smoothly and can scale without becoming overwhelming for you, the host. When these four elements work together, something powerful happens. The retreat stops being just an event on a calendar, it becomes a strategic asset within your business, an experience that creates transformation for your audience while also creating sustainable growth for you as a leader. And over the next part of this training, we're going to walk through each of these pillars so you can start thinking like an architect when designing your retreat. Come on, I see your comments, y'all. Come on, keep the comments coming. I love it. Thank y'all. All right. The first pillar of the 100K retreat framework is attraction. And the core idea behind attraction is simple. Demand must come before logistics. Most leaders do the opposite. They start with the venue, they start researching destinations, they start planning the itinerary. But if they haven't actually confirmed that people are ready to invest in the experience yet, they're just spinning their wheels. Okay. Architects approach retreats differently. Instead of starting with logistics, they start with demand. They ask first, are there people who actually want this experience? Okay. Are there people ready to invest in the transformation this retreat offers? And there are three primary ways to generate that demand. I hope y'all taking notes because the first one is warm audience activation. This is when you activate the audience you already have, like your email list, your community, your clients, your followers, right? Many retreats will fill simply by activating the right segment of an existing audience. The second is a live conversion strategy. This is where you teach in a live environment, a masterclass, a workshop, or a training like this, and invite people into the retreat experience as the next step. Live environments build trust quickly. People experience your leadership, your thinking, and your teaching style in real time. Okay. And that makes it easier for them to say yes to a deeper experience. And the third is an application model. Instead of open enrollment, people apply to attend. Y'all, I'm giving y'all all the secrets. I'm giving y'all all the secrets. Okay. This is the application model. Have people apply to attend because applications allow you to curate the room and ensure that the people attending are aligned, serious, and ready for the experience. All three of these strategies are designed to do the same thing. Create demand before you ever start building the retreat itself. Okay? Now, the second pillar of the 100K retreat framework is revenue architecture. And this is where most retreat hosts make their biggest mistakes. Many leaders approach retreat pricing emotionally. They ask questions like what feels comfortable to charge? What won't scare people away? What seems reasonable? But architects ask different questions. They ask, what does the retreat actually cost to produce? Okay. Now I know my COO and my CFO, probably both of them on here watching, and they are part of this architecture because I'm telling you, the first thing they ask is how much it costs, how much it's gonna cost us, right? So what revenue structure makes this a sustainable, right? What profit target are we designing toward? And this is where a very important distinction comes in, right? Break even is survival. We're no longer in a break even season, right? We're not doing stuff to break even. And I want to let me put a pin right there. I am if you look up in a dictionary people who want to see people win, baby, I'm sure my face is right there. I'm 100% positive that my face is right there. I want people to win so bad. I want to see people, gain knowledge so bad. I want to see people scale. I want to see them go up. And so there were times where I was like, you know what? Just as long if one person shows up, that's great. Baby, I'm not there no more. And neither are you. Even if you never even planned a retreat before, you still ain't there. Okay? That's not where you are. You've already elevated just by being on this live, just by being on this Zoom. You've already elevated. Break even is not where we are in this season. We're talking about profit because profit is strategy. We're not just doing something to just be doing something now. No, 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 no. Because see, here's the thing. When you preach a sermon from a pulpit in a church and you hope it lands, right? You hope it lands. But this is the difference in the break even. And I know I like analogies, y'all. So this is the difference in break even and profit. So I'm a preacher. So when I preach, yes, I'm like, oh, if only one person in the room, was blessed or received deliverance or their life was changed, that's great, right? But on the flip side of it, right? The profit is the intentionality behind it, making sure that I know who's in the audience, making sure that I'm speaking their language, making sure that I am speaking in a way where they're going to learn it, making sure that I'm breaking it down to the simplest level so even the youngest person in the room or the babe in Christ can understand what it is that I'm saying so that it reaches everybody. That's the difference in breaking even and profit, right? Breaking even is, oh, if one person, if one person got it, that's great. That's great on the preacher side of it. On the ministry side, that's great. If one person got delivered, that is great. But on the business side, we talking about strategy and we're talking about profit, right? Now, if a retreat only breaks even, you worked extremely hard, coordinating logistics, planning session, managing attendees, booking speakers and getting contracts signed and all the things. And your reward is simply covering your expenses. Think about that for a moment, right? Profit allows the retreat to function as a true business asset. It funds your growth. It funds future experiences. And it allows you to serve at a higher level without burning out. That's why revenue architecture must be intentional from the beginning. Okay, revenue architecture is where most retreats fall apart. Okay, break even is survival, profit is strategy. If you do not model your numbers intentionally, you will price emotionally. Revenue architecture includes understanding fixed costs, variable costs, tiered pricing, and back end monetization before you ever sell a seat. Okay, you're not hoping this retreat makes money, you are designing it to. Okay. Now, once you understand that profit must be designed intentionally, the next step is understanding the numbers behind it. This is a part many leaders avoid, not because they're incapable, y'all, but because math can feel intimidating. Okay? But when you understand this structure, pricing becomes incredibly clear. There are four numbers that determine the financial structure of a retreat. Now, the first is the fixed costs. These are expenses that stay the same regardless of how many people attend, right? The cost of your venue, the cost of production, the cost of speaker travel, the cost of marketing experiences, right? Or expenses. Those costs exist whether 10 people show up or 30 people show up, right? The second category is variable costs. These are costs that increase as attendance increases. I'm talking about the meals, the materials, transportation, guest accommodations, right? These costs are tied directly to the number of attendees. The third number is the break even seat count. Even though we ain't in the break even season, we still need to know what our break even number is, okay? This tells you exactly how many seats must be sold to cover all costs. When you know that number, guesswork disappears. And finally, there's the profit target. This is where architects think differently. I'm talking about y'all. Y'all, the architects. I'm talking about y'all. Instead of asking what should I charge, you ask what level of profit do I want this retreat to generate. Then you design the pricing and the experience around that target. Once these four numbers are clear, pricing becomes strategic instead of emotional. Okay, now let's make this practical. I'm a visual person, so let's go. All right. Because once leaders understand the structure behind revenue architecture, the numbers become much clearer. What you're seeing here is a simple example model of how a retreat might be structured financially. These numbers are just examples, but they illustrate the concept. On the left side, you see the expenses, okay? You see things like the venue, catering, AV, decor, travel, team support, okay? Every retreat will have some version of these costs. You may have less, you may have more, okay? When you add those expenses together, you arrive at the total investment required to produce the retreat. On the right side, you see the revenue structure, right? The general ticket price, VIP upgrades, back end offers, and sometimes even sponsorships or partnerships. What many leaders don't realize is that the retreat ticket itself is often just one part of the revenue ecosystem. The experience may start with the ticket, but the real revenue structure often includes multiple layers. VIP experiences, extended programs, masterminds, or other offers that continue the transformation beyond the retreat itself. When you design the retreat this way, revenue becomes intentional instead of accidental. Okay. When you run the numbers through a structure like this, you start to see how powerful retreat architecture can be. In this example, the break-even point is 33 general admission attendees. That means once those seats are filled, the core costs of the retreat are covered. Everything beyond that begins contributing to profit. Now look at the projected revenue. Across tickets, VIP upgrades, back-end offers, and sponsorships, the total projected revenue reaches just over $78,000. After covering the retreat expenses, the projected profit in this example is over $61,000. And this is key, the key idea I want you to see. Profitability is not accidental, it is designed. When leaders skip the math, they often underprice their retreats. But when the numbers are clear, the strategy becomes much easier to build. And suddenly retreats stop feeling risky. They start feeling like a very powerful business model. So right here, I'm gonna share a different screen. Give me 1 second. All right. So I'm gonna share it over here. As soon as I can find it. Yo, I have 1,000 screens open, so don't judge me. Please don't judge me, and I won't judge you. Okay, let me pull this out because I don't need y'all saying all my business. Okay. Because I want to show y'all exactly how this goes. And since I'm live on so many different platforms, I gotta make sure everybody can see it. All right, tell me if y'all can see this calculator. Somebody drop it for me. Can y'all see the calculator? All right, perfect. I got one yes. As long as I get one yes, I can go. All right. So this calculator, and we'll talk about how you'll get access to this later on, but this calculator is very important. And I'm going to start right here. I might need to, I guess not. Maybe I just need to make it a little bit smaller. Go down to 125. Okay, so this is a retreat profit calculator, right? It tells you the break even, the projected revenue, projected profit, your profit margin, and your revenue per attendee. These are all fixed because they are automatically calculated based on these other two tabs, the event expenses and the projected revenue. So under event expenses, right? If we play around with it and we say, let's just say that the event venue costs $10,000, right? If you go back to the dashboard, you'll see that now you need 31 general admission attendees. The projected revenue is 67,000 and the projected profit is a little over 37,000. And remember I told y'all to write the word margin down, right? This is your profit margin, 54.95%. And your revenue per attendee will be $1,358.11. Now, these are your expenses. Okay. Now, I'll tell you, for my team and I, we never put down, if the venue is $10,000, we never put $10,000 in here. We always would go up at least 1,500, right? At least 1,500. So just this calculator in itself, as far as expenses go, never, when it says estimated, you estimate up. You do not estimate down. Okay. Let's be realistic. Now, here we go. If our general, like if the general admission ticket is $9.97 and we say our goal is 35 people, then the projected general admission revenue is $35,895, right? If we say the VIP ticket price is going to be $2,000 and we only want to sell 15 of those, right? The projected VIP revenue is $30,000. Okay. Um, the back end offer price $35. We just plug something in there. And then the back end conversion percentage is 30%. And then the sponsorship revenue, let's just say $3,000. For a lot of times, sponsorship revenue is zero because I don't teach people how you get sponsorship and any of that. So let's just put sponsorship revenue at zero right now. And let me tell you something else. For your back end conversion, if your offer is not done properly, if your offer is not a strong offer, that 30% won't hold. So you may want to lower your back end conversion percentage so that you can get a more accurate number for what your break even is or even what your profit is going to be. So now you see just with those tweaks, you're at 31 general admission attendees. Your projected revenue, your projected profit, your margins went down a bit, and your revenue per attendee went down a bit, and it's still great, right? So, and I want to show you one other thing, right? If you say I only want to make $10,000 from this retreat, right? I only want to make $10,000 from it. You can then go in and you can start playing around with these numbers and you'll go back to your dashboard and this is where you're looking at, right? The projected profit. So with the VIP ticket price as 1,000, let's just say we're going to do 20 general admission. Let's see if that takes us down to where we need to be. Oh, that take us way down. Okay, let's say 25. We're almost there. So we're going to say about 27. With 27, now you have your projected profit at $11,341.26. So that means if you're selling general admission tickets and you want to sell 27 of them and you want to sell 15 $1,000 VIP tickets, yes, you can do that. And I know that ain't too much of a difference. Let me go down. Let me say 597. And as you can see, when you change the cost of your ticket prices on these tiered ones, it makes it a difference on how much your profit is. Okay. So now that we play around with it, so you got $597 for general admission, $1,000 for VIP. So now you'll need 45 general admission and 15 VIP in order for you to have your at least $10,000 in profit, right? But lowering your ticket prices. You see this? 51. You have to have 51 general admission attendees in order for you to break even. Mind you, we done came up off this page, the expenses page. We only over here on the revenue page. So you have to make sure that when you are pricing, that it's not emotional. You don't be thinking like, how much would I pay? No, value yourself. Value yourself. Okay. Um, so yeah, there we go with that. Let me go to Zoom and go back to my presentation. Let me know if y'all can see my presentation in Zoom. And then for StreamYard, let me take y'all back to my presentation as well. Is this helping y'all? Let me know. Let me know if is this helping y'all. Please let me know because I definitely want to make sure y'all getting something out of this. Okay, thank y'all, thank y'all, thank you. All right. So we're going to the next slide. All right. So here we are. We're talking about curation and again. We move to the third pillar of the framework, which is curation. This is where many retreats either become memorable or forgettable. Okay. memorable or forgettable, because the experience itself must match the strategy behind the retreat. A retreat is not simply a collection of sessions or activities. It is a designed experience that guides people through a transformation. And every element of that experience should be intentional. It begins with the arrival experience. What people feel the moment they step into the environment matters. Are they greeted intentionally? Okay. Does the environment signal that this experience is elevated? Luxury retreats begin shaping perception before the first session ever starts. Okay. Before the first session ever starts. Next are what I call the transformation pillars. These are the core ideas or breakthroughs that the retreat is designed to deliver. Not 10 random sessions, not scattered topics, but a few focused transformation points that move attendees from where they are to where they want to be. Okay. And then there is the VIP layer. This is where you design deeper access. Okay. So let me say this: general admission is luxury. Luxury is the baseline. Okay. We go up from there. So the VIP experience is just a greater level of luxury. General admission is not. Listen, every seat is a great seat at a luxury retreat. Okay. At your retreat, every seat is a luxury seat. Um, but it just talks about the access, right? The difference is the access, general admission versus VIP. Because in VIP, you have private conversations, small group strategy, elevated experiences that create proximity and connection. VIP is not just about a better seat, it's about a deeper level of transformation and access. And finally, we design the closing transition. Many retreats end abruptly. People go home inspired, but without a clear next step. Strategic retreats close with a transition that moves attendees forward into the next stage of their journey. When this entire experience is curated intentionally, the retreat becomes far more than an event. It becomes a powerful environment for transformation. Okay. Now, there's another aspect of curation that most leaders never think about, and that is designing the retreat experience to support conversion. What do I mean by that? Every experience element should support the business strategy behind the retreat, the sessions, the conversations, the environment, even the pacing of the retreat itself. Okay. For example, session flows, they matter. The early sessions typically introduce ideas and possibilities. The middle sessions deepen understanding and help people begin applying what they are learning. And then the later sessions begin connecting those ideas to the next level of support um, of implementation. Okay, somebody asked me a question. Hold on one second. Let me say. Okay, let me see what the question is. Is it important for people to know you? um, let me say this. People will invest into your retreat, but they buy into who you are. Okay? They buy into who you are. So they may not necessarily know you, but if you do and present yourself in the right way, people will get to know you very quickly. Brand credibility, and all those things, like those are things that can help people get to know you. So you don't have to have a lot of followers. You just have to have people that you connected with. I hope that answers your question. Um, okay, we were talking about the later sessions. They begin connecting those ideas to the next level of support implementation. Strategic pauses are important. Okay, these are the moments where attendees reflect, discuss, and process what they've learned. It is going to be a lot. Like I said earlier, it is an information overload. This in itself, this training is an information overload, right? But those that quiet time, that pause in between, like that time that you take to just think about what's happening, like I said, that's where the breakthrough happens. And those conversations, be it with someone else or even to yourself, okay? If you talk to yourself or talking to the Lord, okay, that's where the through happens. And visibility is another powerful element. If you offer a VIP layer, it should be visible, not in a way that feels exclusive or uncomfortable, but in a way that communicates the value of deeper access and deeper support. Okay. And finally, there is the closing invitation. When the retreat is curated well, the final invitation does not feel like a sales pitch. It feels like a natural continuation of the transformation that has already begun. People are not being pushed into something, they are being invited into the next stage of their growth. That is the power of intentional curation. Okay. Now, the final pillar of the framework is what I call high level systems. Because even the most beautifully designed retreat will struggle if the systems behind it are not structured properly. Many leaders approach retreats in a very manual way. They track registrations in spreadsheets. Listen, let me tell you something. I'm going to have spreadsheets forever, okay? Because my second language is Excel, okay? I know more Excel than I do Spanish. Okay, don't judge me. But but the thing about spreadsheets is you still have to manually go in and have somebody update the spreadsheet for every single thing that happens, unless you know Zapier, and that way you can, track it, but it's a pain. Okay. So people are manually sending follow-up emails, they're collecting payments one by one. And while all of that may work for a small event, it becomes extremely difficult to scale. Okay. If a retreat requires you to personally manage every step, the business becomes exhausting very quickly. Okay. That's why high level retreat businesses rely on systems that support the experience. Registration should be automated. Payments should flow through structured workflows. Email communication should guide attendees through the journey before the retreat even begins. And after the retreat ends, the system should continue nurturing those relationships into the next level of engagement. When these systems are built correctly, the retreat experience becomes smoother for attendees and far more sustainable for the host. This is how retreats evolve from one time events into repeatable assets inside a business model. All right. Now let's talk about where many retreat businesses quietly lose revenue. And it usually has nothing to do with demand. It has to do with systems that are not designed properly. For example, missed follow ups. Someone expresses interest in attending the retreat, but they never receive a structured follow up sequence. Days pass, their attention shifts, and the opportunity disappears. I want to I want to put a pin right here. So I have a whole different brand, business, all of that is not I'm not the face of, but we were running ads, right? And so what we did was, because we were using an automated system and we were tracking everything, we were tracking who clicked on the links, who opened the emails, we were being able to track who clicked and added it to their cart and everything, right? So what we went back in and did was we retargeted all of those people who clicked on the link, who put it in their cart, and guess what happened? We got sales. We had left sales on the table. Well, we would have left sales on the table if we did not go back and follow up. Things happen, y'all. I'm like, my attention span is so short. So like I'll be doing something and it only takes like a gust of wind to make me forget what I'm doing and then start something else. So it's so important. Following up with individuals are so important, and retargeting those individuals is important as well. Okay. Payment failures are another common issue. Without proper payment workflows, payment plans break down or transactions fail without being addressed quickly. Okay. If someone misses a payment, they should immediately receive an email. They should immediately receive a phone call. They should immediately receive these things, right? We don't wait 5 to 7 days. It is immediate. Okay. And for the automation though, like, and when I say immediately, when you have it automated, your automation will try again like within 24 hours. It'll try 3 times before they need to be contacted immediately. And that automation will send them an email to say, hey, you missed your payment. We'll try again on this particular date. But even after the third try, that doesn't mean give up. That means now it's time to get personal, and a member of your team need to make a phone call, or somebody needs to send a text message. Something needs to happen. Okay. All right. Now, then there's something many people overlook: tagging and segmentation. Baby, we tag everything. We tag and segment everything. We use Go High Level, and we tag and segment everything. Okay. If you don't know who attended the retreat, who expressed interest in VIP, or who may be ready for the next level of support, you lose the ability to continue serving those individuals strategically. Okay. Strategically. And finally, one of the biggest gaps I see is the absence of a back end workflow. The retreat ends, everyone goes home inspired, and there is no system guiding them into the next stage of the journey. When systems are missing, revenue quietly leaks out of the business. But when systems are designed intentionally, the retreat becomes part of a much larger ecosystem. Okay. Now, at one point in my business, I was using multiple platforms to run everything. I'm only going to give y'all an example of one. I used to use Community for texting, right? And we were paying somewhere between $179 and $200 every single month for Community. So if you ever received a text from me and you didn't open it, shame on you, because we were spending almost $200 to send these texts out. But with Go High Level, we can do everything. We can send emails, we can create landing pages, we can create funnels, the payment workflows, the automations, keyword workflows, um, client follow-up. Okay, so all of those are all separate systems, right? That most people use separate system for everything, right? Websites, all the things you can use Go High Level for, but we were paying for it at one point in time. We were paying for things individually. I went through and I found like $1,800. $1,800 in subscriptions. Okay. Go High Level has everything. Yes, the courses, the communities, all of the things. Okay. $97 a month. Okay. Or better. We'll talk about that later. Okay. And what started happening was something many entrepreneurs experienced. Everything was scattered, logins, everything. But we had to have a whole spreadsheet for logins. It was crazy. And the automations were breaking because we were trying to connect Zapier with everything. Listen, who got time for that? The systems were not talking to each other. Instead of the technology supporting the business, the technology started creating more work. Okay. It started creating more work. Oh yeah, mini chat. You can definitely text from Go High Level. And it works just like mini chat, right? Using a keyword now, and it's not extra. It's including your $97 a month. What are y'all thinking? What are y'all doing? Okay. So I made a decision. I canceled all of the platforms that I can cancel and moved everything into one system. And like I said, that platform is Go High Level. Go High Level allows you to run your entire infrastructure in one place. Your registration pages, your email sequences, your CRM, your automation, your payment workflows, your follow-up systems, everything. And for retreat businesses, this becomes extremely powerful because you can track the entire attendee journey, from interest to registration to follow up to the next level of engagement. Now I want to mention something that may help you if you decide to explore it. We do have an affiliate partnership with Go High Level. That's what that QR code is on the screen. So if you sign up using our link, you receive a 14-day free trial. And after the trial, the platform is $87 per month instead of $97 per month. Ain't that something? Y'all paying less than me. Okay. That means you save $10 per month for as long as you stay on the platform. Again, it's completely optional. I would suggest it. Go look through your business bank account and see all of the things that you are paying for and how many things that you can replace with Go High Level. Okay. Gigi said, "Well, I had no idea. Stop it. You have to be kidding." No, I'm so serious. And that link, in addition to the QR code being there, it's in the chat as well, the link. Yes, it does. It even has a social media calendar. Can you send this out to us in an email so we can use your link? Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. But I'll tell you, if you are serious about building retreats that are scalable and having a strong system behind the scenes, that makes everything easier, go high level is it. Okay. All right. Now let me get off my go high level soapbox. At this point, I want to introduce the shift in how we think about retreats, right? Most leaders approach retreats as events, okay? Something they plan once, something that requires tremendous amount of effort, something that ends and then they move on to the next thing. But the most successful retreat leaders approach retreats very differently. They approach them as assets. An event consumes energy. An asset generates return. An event happens once. An asset can generate value over and over again. Okay. When retreats are structured as assets, they become part of a larger ecosystem inside your business. They generate revenue. They deepen relationships. They position you as an authority in your space. And they open the door to the next level of engagement with your audience. So the real question is not, should I host a retreat? The real question becomes, how do I architect a retreat that functions as a strategic asset? And that shift is what the framework we discussed today is designed to help you do. Okay. When you look at retreats through the lens of business strategy, two different mindsets begin to appear: the event mindset and the asset mindset. If you have already switched over to the asset mindset, drop asset in the comments and in the chat. Just drop asset, right? With an event mindset, the retreat is treated as a one-time experience. You put in an enormous amount of effort, you plan the logistics, you fill the seats, and when the retreat ends, the revenue ends with it. Everything then resets. But with an asset mindset, the retreat becomes part of a structured ecosystem. It becomes a gateway. It introduces people to your methodology. It deepens trust with your audience. And it opens the door to the next level of support that you provide. Instead of one isolated event, you begin building a system that includes the retreat experience, back end monetization opportunities, and systems that allow the retreat to run again and again with greater efficiency. This is the difference between hosting retreats and architecting them. And when leaders understand this shift, retreats stop feeling risky. They start becoming one of the most powerful growth tools inside of a business. Okay? Let me ask you to imagine something for a moment. What if your retreat did more than create a great experience? What if your retreat actually funded the next 6 months of your business? What if it positioned you clearly as the authority in your space? What if instead of chasing clients one by one, your retreat became a client acquisition engine, one to many, right? A place where the right people gather, where relationships deepen, and where trust is built quickly because people are experiencing your work in real time. And what if that retreat naturally led people into your next level of support, your mastermind, your coaching program, or the deeper work you offer? When retreats are structured strategically, they don't just create moments, they create momentum. And that's what we're trying to do. We are creating momentum. I'm too old for moments, yo. We need momentum. We need something that can run on autopilot and that it can go. It is not a sprint, it's a marathon. The 100-yard dash is over at the 100-yard line. We're looking for the marathon, okay? And then a retreat can become one of the most powerful growth engines inside of your business, right? One thing I've noticed over the years is that most leaders do not lack vision. They already have powerful ideas. I know some of y'all on this live, y'all already have powerful ideas and that you want to serve people. You want to create transformational experiences and you want to bring your communities together. Vision ain't the problem. The real challenge is structure. How do you price your retreat? How do you model the revenue? How do you fill the seats without feeling like you're chasing people? How do you design the experience so it actually leads to deeper engagement in your business? How do you build the system so the retreat doesn't become overwhelming to manage? Without structure, retreats can feel risky. Without structure, leaders often underprice their events. Without structure, the retreat may be meaningful, but it won't be sustainable. Okay. But when structure is in place, everything changes. The retreat becomes clear, the revenue becomes predictable, and the experience becomes repeatable. That's exactly why I created the framework I'm about to share with you. Everything we talked about today comes together inside something I created called the Profitable Luxury Retreat Blueprint. The blueprint is designed to help you move from simply having the idea for a retreat to actually structuring it as a revenue generating ecosystem. Inside the blueprint, I walk you through the strategic foundations behind profitable retreats. Not just how to plan an event, but how to build the architecture that makes retreats sustainable and scalable. This guide walks you through the exact frameworks we discussed today. How to design demand before committing to logistics, how to structure the revenue model so the retreat supports your business, how to design the experience so it creates both transformation and opportunity, and how to build the systems that allow everything to run smoothly. It's a 48-page strategic blueprint designed to help you move from vision to structure. Okay, let me see. What if you are a nonprofit and creating an experience for healing and change, but not profit? But of course, revenue is necessary because there are expenses. It's the same thing. It's the same. The blueprint is going to help you. Use the blueprint because you can be a nonprofit and still have revenue. You have expenses, and we're not doing break even. Your nonprofit doesn't run off of air, it runs off of money. So you can still, have a retreat as a nonprofit and still gain revenue. It's just I think I don't not I think the main difference is in a for profit and a nonprofit when it comes down to a retreat is what you do with your profit. Okay. I hope I answered your question. Okay. Let me quickly show you what's included inside the blueprint. First, you'll gain clarity on your retreat business model. Oh, perfect. Before selecting venues or designing experiences, and it's important to understand how the retreat fits into your larger business ecosystem, right? Next, you'll work through the revenue architecture workbook. This helps you structure the financial model behind the retreat so you can understand your pricing, revenue layers, and profit potential. You'll also receive the retreat profit calculator, and I already showed y'all that and how valuable that is, right? This tool allows you to model your numbers clearly so you understand your break even point. Um, Hold on 1 second. Give me 1 second. Y'all was getting down my little okay. There you go. Sorry, none of y'all gonna tell me that I had y'all on the wrong screen over there on social media. But anyway, you'll also receive the retreat profit calculator. This tool allows you to model your numbers clearly so you understand your break even point, your pricing strategy, and your profit targets. Another important component is the demand and pre sale strategy. Instead of hoping people show up, this section walks you through how to validate interest and create demand before locking in major expenses. And finally, the blueprint includes a 90-day implementation plan. So you're not left wondering what to do next. You'll have a structured roadmap to move from idea to execution. Now, what I need y'all to do right now is drop in the chat. Let me open up my chat big too. Tell me all of this stuff that we just talked about in this blueprint. Tell me, drop a 1 in the chat if you know that this will help you create a profitable retreat. If this is something you need, drop a 1 in the chat. I love it. I love it. I see I see the ones. Okay. Now, Normally, when people learn how to structure retreats strategically, they often do so through consulting, coaching programs, or intensive workshops, right? And those programs can easily range from several $1,000s to much higher. How do I know? Because I'm a consultant and a coach. But I wanted to create something that gives leaders access to the core strategy in a way that is accessible. So the investment for the profitable luxury retreat blueprint is 147 as a one-time payment. And if you enroll within the next 48 hours, you'll also receive several additional resources designed to help you implement the framework faster. First, you'll get the VIP upgrade strategy blueprint. This walks you through how to structure elevated retreat experiences that increase both value and revenue. Second, you'll receive pre-sale email templates. They help you communicate your retreat offer clearly and confidently to your audience. And finally, for the first 15 people, I'll review your revenue model. Okay. This allows you to validate your numbers before committing to major decisions. If building a retreat that is both transformational and profitable is something you want to pursue, this blueprint will give you the structure to begin doing that. Right. So the link to the blueprint is in the chat. You can click on the link, save the link, you know, because trust me, it's going to bless you. All right. Now, for some of you, the blueprint will give you everything you need to begin building your retreat strategy. But some leaders prefer something different. They don't just want the framework, they want guidance while implementing it. And that's exactly why I created the Luxury Retreat Systems Lab. The lab is a 6-week implementation cohort where we actually build a structure together. Instead of trying to figure everything out on your own, you'll be working inside a guided environment designed to help you move from idea to execution. Inside the lab, we focus on building the actual systems behind your retreat, right? That includes your funnel structure, your demand strategy, and your automation workflows. We also work together on the funnel build itself. So instead of guessing how to set everything up, you'll see exactly how the pieces come together. You'll also have access to a private community of leaders who are building their retreats alongside you. And you'll gain access to a systems vault, which includes templates and infrastructure that help simplify the process. Because this is a hands-on implementation environment, the lab is limited to 25 leaders per cohort. Okay. That way, everyone receives meaningful support during the build process. If you want extra support, drop a 2 in the chat. If you like, listen, I don't like DIY. I like somebody to do it with me. Drop a 2 in the chat. I do apologize for y'all over there on social media because I can't see a lot of y'all comments. I do know that. I do know that y'all are putting comments over there. I'm sorry. Um, all right. Now, this is a 6-week implementation experience, and each week builds on the previous one so that by the end, you don't just have ideas, you have an actual system in place. In week 1, we focus on your retreat revenue architecture. This is where we finalize your ticket tiers, locking your profit targets, and confirm the back-end offer that makes the retreat financially sustainable. By the end of that week, you'll have a clear financial model for your retreat. In week 2, we move into funnel mapping inside Go High Level. We map the full funnel, outline the landing page structure, and install the tagging system so you can track and manage your leads properly. In week 3, we build the workflows and automation that keep everything running smoothly. Things like registration flows, payment automation, reminder sequences, and even failed payment recovery. In week 4, we implement your email sequences. This includes the pre-sale emails, your live conversion sequences, your deadline reminders, and back-end ascension emails that help extend the revenue beyond the retreat itself. In week 5, we focus on live conversion and closing strategy. How you present the offer, handle objections confidently, and structure your webinar or live presentation so it converts. And finally, in week 6, we build the back-end monetization and optimization layer. That includes post-retreat ascension, survey flows, revenue analysis, and refining the system so that you can repeat it again for future retreats. So by the end of the 6 weeks, you don't just have a retreat plan, you have the entire ecosystem built around it. And this is the great thing about that, right? Once you build this out and go high level, all you do is rinse and repeat. You duplicate for your next one, right? Um, so yeah, it's sort of kind of liquid gold, okay? Sort of kind of, it really is liquid gold. Because the lab includes live implementation and direct support, the regular investment for the program is $14.97. However, for the founding cohort, which are you all, the first 25 leaders are able to join at $12.97. This allows us to build the first group together while refining the program experience. And to make it accessible, payment plans are available. Again, the lab is completely optional. If you prefer to start with the blueprint, that may be the perfect place to begin. But if you know you want guidance while building a retreat infrastructure, the lab provides that environment. Okay. Um, Now for the lab, I think we're getting that link dropped in the chat. I think she might have already dropped it in the chat. Erica, if you can, drop that link in the chat for me for the lab. Okay, so at this point, because we are rounding, we rounding the end, right? We landing the plane. At this point, there are a few thoughts that often come up for people. One of the most common is, I don't have a large audience. The truth is that successful retreats are rarely built on audience size alone. They are built on clear positioning, meaningful transformation, and strong structure. Another thought people have is, I've never hosted a retreat before, and that's exactly why structure matters. When the process is clear, you don't need years of experience to begin building something powerful. Some people also say, I'm not very tech savvy. That's completely normal. Most of the systems we discussed today are designed to simplify the process, not complicate it. And finally, there's the question many leaders quietly ask themselves, what if it doesn't sell? That's why the first step we discussed today is demand validation. Before committed to for committing to venues and large expenses, we test interest and confirm that the retreat idea resonates with the audience. When you combine demand validation with clear revenue structure and strong systems, the process becomes far more predictable. And that's the difference between hoping a retreat works and architecting one that does. Now, I also want to let you all know, right? Like, we have the blueprint, and we have the systems lab that will be starting later on. Yes. Okay. The application form for the systems lab along with the replay will be sent out. Okay. Get me together, Erica. Um, but along with that, some of you may know that we had a retreat planned for April. We have moved that retreat back to September. And I want to be real transparent with you all, right? I talked about intentionality and I talked about curating experiences. And the Holy Spirit said, nope, because I'm not going to stress myself out. I did something I hadn't ever done before, and I planned a retreat. I planned this April retreat in less time than I ever have. I don't know what made me think that. I'm 45 now. I don't know why I thought cutting the time in half made sense versus multiplying the time times 0.5, because that's what I should have been doing. Um, but I'm just like, I'm not going to stress myself, right? Like I told you, an event exerts a lot of energy, and I was exerting too much energy. And I'm like, you know what? Nope, let me step back. Let me get a clear understanding on who this retreat is for, because as I mature and grow spiritually, as I mature and grow as an individual, a wife, a mom, business owner, and all the things, right? Um, my business evolves. Who I am evolves. My brand evolves. And so years ago, my target audience was one group of people, but now my target audience are a different group. I have a different niche now. And so that has been made clear. My niche now, in 2026, is coaches, speakers, authors, leaders, and entrepreneurs who are looking to plan a retreat. And if Ashley Kirkwood happened to stumble upon this live and she see any of this, y'all, I'm pretty sure probably gonna be loud and she gonna be, yes, because you've been telling me for years to do this, right? But again, I am proof. I am proof. Coach Tommy said this at our mastermind in January. I am proof. I am proof that you can go through a storm and you can go through the trials and the tribulations, but you can still come out unscathed. You can still come out not smelling like smoke. I am proof, right? I am proof. When I tell you about your mindset, catching up to who it is that you're supposed to be and what your purpose, I am proof. I've already gone through that. I've already gone through that. I push back so bad about teaching people how to do luxury retreats because I'm like, people are not interested in this. Like, people aren't interested in how it is that you plan a luxury retreat. But the reality of it is that there are people out here that are planning retreats and they charging all of this money. And you know who get the earful when people come back from these retreats and they be like, I ain't get nothing but a sandwich. Me. And I'm like, y'all, it wasn't my retreat. But people, yeah, and even tries the comments. Yeah, like people, especially people who have been to a Ground and Grace experience event or a Ground and Grace experience retreat, excuse me, um, they have a different level of expectation when they attend someone else's retreat. And so when that retreat ain't retreating like Grind and Grace retreat, oh yeah, they come back. And and sometimes they be like, I went to that retreat because you didn't have a retreat this year, because I didn't have a retreat for 2 years. Um, and so yeah, yeah. So there is room for this. There's a space and a need to teach people what luxury looks like, what luxury feels like, and how is to curate that for other people, and implement it into their business ecosystem, right? So yeah, that's why I exist. So in September 17th through the 20th, you all, if you choose to come, will be able to come and actually attend a retreat and see all of what I've taught in play. All of what I've taught in play. You'll see it in real time what an actual luxury retreat actually looks like. And the retreat will be tailored to you all. Okay. The retreat will be tailored to coaches, speakers, authors, leaders, entrepreneurs, and even pastors who want to create retreats, right? You want to create retreats for your church or whatever the case may be, right? It's going to be tailored towards you all. Um, y'all are my audience, y'all are my people, and that's just what it is. This is a rebrand, and I'm leaning into it. Okay. Now, before we open for questions, I want to leave you with one final idea. Retreats are powerful. They bring people together, they create transformation, they deepen relationships. But when retreats are structured strategically, they can become much more than an experience. They can become assets inside your business, an asset that generates revenue, an asset that positions you as an authority, an asset that brings the right people into your ecosystem. And the difference between a retreat that feels exhausting and a retreat that fuels your business often comes down to one thing, and that's structure. Okay. So when the structure is clear, the path becomes possible. And that's exactly why I created the framework and the blueprint we discussed tonight. Whether you decide to begin with a blueprint or join us inside the systems lab, my hope is that you leave today realizing that retreats don't have to feel complicated, right? With the right structure, they become one of the most powerful tools you can build into your business. All right. I'd like to thank you again for being here today. I'd love to open the floor for questions. If something came up during the training, or if you're thinking about how this might apply to your business, feel free to ask. Um, and while we're talking, just let me know where you are in your journey. Are you in the architecture phase where you're designing your retreat idea, or are you ready for acceleration where you're ready to start building the systems and the structure? Either way, I'm happy to help guide you. Now, what questions do you have? Yes, I am doing one. Yes, I'm doing a retreat September 17th through the 20th in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. I just want you to know it worked because reaching out to me, your target audience, put you in my feed, and I have never heard of you or this great idea. Well, thank you. Yeah. You say anything in your near your phone. Yeah. I'm looking. Oh, I'm so sorry, y'all. I don't know why it was for some reason it named y'all all the same name in in Zoom. You know, technology sometimes is crazy. But any questions, comments, concerns? If anybody from my team sees any questions or comments that I need to address, please let me know. I'm gonna give y'all about 15 seconds. Oh, hold on. Great info, very informative. You, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You are welcome. Thank you. This was good. You are welcome. You're welcome. I was excited to do this. I did a retreat masterclass a couple of years ago, and I didn't go into this depth of it, like to create it as an ecosystem. I went into it from a place of teaching you step by step, actually how to plan the retreat, but which that was needed as well. But I think that this was absolutely a step up. This was a little bit more luxury for y'all. You're welcome. You're welcome. All right, y'all. Now, before we wrap up tonight, I want to leave you with one final thought. Most leaders already have the vision. You know the impact you want to create, you know the community you want to gather, you know the experience you want people to walk away with. What many leaders lack is not the vision, it's the structure that allows that vision to become sustainable. Because without structure, retreats feel risky, they feel overwhelming, and sometimes they feel out of reach. But when structure is in place, something powerful happens. The retreat becomes more than an event. It becomes a platform. It becomes a revenue engine. It becomes a space where transformation and strategy meet. And sometimes it becomes a thing that elevates an entire business. So whether you decide to begin with the blueprint or you join us inside the systems lab, my hope is that you leave tonight thinking differently about what's possible, not just hosting retreats, but architecting assets. Thank you for spending this time with me tonight. I'm excited to see the retreats that come from this room. If there are no more questions, yep, we good. You all have a good night. Pray for me as I pray for you all. And I'm excited to work with you. For those of you who will be joining us in the lab, I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Yeah, and the replay will be available. However, it's only available to those who actually filled out the link, who signed up. Because I told y'all we tag and segment. So the only way we can reach out and send out the replay link is if you signed up. So we will drop that link in the chat because we'll leave the live up for the rest of the night and drop the link in the chat. But other than that, we're not saving the lives on any of the social media platforms. But those of you who signed up and who are on Zoom, you will receive the replay. All right. Good night. All right, y'all. Talk to y'all soon.